And welcome to another video. In this one I'll be covering the whole front line, starting out in Bakhmut, where the Russian forces continue their attacks all over the city. But let's start out here in the northwest, where the Russian forces continue their attacks in between Selesnyansk and Orehovo-Vasilivka by the E40 highway, as they try to gain further control of this forest patch here to the north of their current position, and then push onwards to this hilly area here by Minkivka, Holubivka, and Previlya, where they will attempt to gain control over these villages, which will help them gain control over the canal eastern part of it. Fighting also continues by Orehovo-Vasilivka and Hryhorivka, where again there's a forest patch, so this indicates that the Ukrainian forces like to use these forest patches as their defensive positions. Further south of Bohdyanivka, we see Russian forces continue their attacks here to the south of it, in the direction of the 00506 road, as well as slightly to the east of that, both in this direction as to try and cut off this road between Bakhmut and Jazov Yar. We also see fighting here to the northwest of Bakhmut in the direction of the Rosalie area, where the Russian forces continue their attacks, in hopes of getting a better position here to the northwest of the city, and allowing further Russian forces to advance from the eastern to the western part of the rail lines. Fighting continues here by the rail line here to the north of the train station, and also here by the train station itself, where it is reported that the train station is about 50-50 controlled by both sides, so 50% by the Russian forces and 50% by the Ukrainian forces, as the Russian forces try to gain control of it, and the Ukrainian forces try to hold it at all costs. So very heavy fighting occurs by the train station, and there's a lot of casualties on both sides, as is reported by the sources on the ground. Then we see here to the south of that, fighting continues heavily here in the southwestern part of the central area, as Russian forces attack this southern part from 4 different directions. So Wagner soldiers are attacking from these 3 directions, where they are trying to take control over these market buildings here to the east. They are also trying to advance here to the north, as they want to link up with the forces from the south. And then we have Russian VDV soldiers attacking here by the railways, going to go up and capture this bridge between the 2 sides. It is most likely already destroyed. However, capturing this point leads to a main road, which will allow the Russian forces to cut off the Ukrainian forces in this area. Fighting also continues in the southwestern parts of the city, as the Russian forces continue attempting to advance within the residential areas, and heavy fighting occurs here by the southwestern parts, as both sides want to control these high-rise buildings. The Russians captured it, and the Ukrainians counterattacked and recaptured it, and fighting continues in this area. Fighting also continues by Ivanivsky in this direction. So looking at this video, we can see that there's a lot of heavy shelling, and this video is most likely a bunch of days, if not a week old, as we can see that the area of the shelling, which we see there's a bunch of high-rise buildings, and we see that there is a bunch of residential areas around, and in the background there's the rail line. So this indicates that this area is most likely still on the eastern part, as we can see that the high-rise buildings, some are facing towards the rail line and others are facing away from it. And if we look at the map itself and zoom in, we can see by the marketplace here in eastern Bakhmut, by the western outskirts of the central area, that there's a few facing towards the rail lines and then a few facing sideways. So this could most likely be the area of the shelling, mostly by the marketplace, as well as by the train station. This is why I say it's a couple of days old. As we can see, the 7th of April is when the Russian forces captured this area. So most likely a few days before that, maybe the 6th or 5th of April. Or it could just be the areas here in the western parts that haven't been captured yet, as well as the train station itself. So it could be less than 5 days old, but it is somewhere within that time frame. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a like if you support what I'm doing. If you want to support my work, you can do so on Patreon. Link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. My first exclusive to Patreon only video was uploaded yesterday, where I react to personal stories recollections of the civil war in Ukraine, according to his religion's book, The Great Veterans Project. Then we see this second video of thermite or some similar fire-oriented bombs being shelled on Ukrainian positions. It says it's in Bakhmut, but it's too dark to exactly see anything. And it looks like it has a very wide range of effects. So most likely this could be anywhere within the western or western outskirts of the central district, anywhere the Ukrainian positions are. Then we move on to the northern front, where the Russian forces by Kreminna continue their attacks in the direction of Makiivka, as well as Nevsky, west of Chernobyivka and southwest of Chernobyivka, west of Kreminna in the direction of Sarishne, south of Dubrova in the Serebryansky forest area, south of Kreminna, west of Shipilivka, as the Russian forces continue their advances in this area. According to the latest intel by Deep State, the Russian forces actually managed to push the front line to this area here, so they've advanced a bit further down the road and controlled the intersection physically, and they are fighting within the forest areas in this zone. Then we see fighting continuing by Bilorivka and Verkhnukamiansk. As for to the south, in the direction of the Avdiivka front, the Russian forces continue their attacks here to the west of Krasnoarivka, as well as in the direction of Kamyanka, south in the direction of Opytne in the direction of Avdiivka from Opytne, and in the direction of Severne from Vodiane. And according to the latest reports, there's also fighting by this trench network right here in between Vodiane and Opytne, as Russian forces attempt to gain control over it as well. Then we also see fighting by Pervomaiske, both in the central area to the northern area, as well as to the south in the direction of Nevelske, as the Russian forces continue advancing in this area. And then by Marinka, fighting continues in the central area as well as to the north and in the south in the direction of Pobieda. Fighting also continues to the east of Novomikhailivka and in the south in the direction of Uledar. Also, someone asked me, please differentiate between shelling and fighting. I already do that. Fighting, when I report of fighting, then it is because there's actual fighting, whether it's a firefight, if there's a tank advance, whatever it is. If there's physical fighting, then I report on it. If it's only shelling, I don't report on it. Otherwise, the whole front, all the way from Chernihiv area down to Belgorod, as well as in the whole Zaporizhia front and by the Kherson Dnieper River area. All of these areas would also be reported as fighting, but this is only shelling, there's no physical fighting happening, so I don't report on it. And that is all for this update. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.